Hello and welcome. In the country, you may very often hear about several paramilitary forces that the center has and sometimes helps states in deploying them during crises and during natural calamities or even law and order situations. But believe me, there is only one real paramilitary force in India, and that is called the Assam Rifles, which was established way back in 1835. What is its history? And as it completes 190 years this month, I thought I'll flag some of the highlights and achievements of this old force which still serves India's northeast with its efficiency and effectiveness. I'm Nitin Gokhale, and you are on Simply Nitin. So, what is Assam Rifles? It is a paramilitary force, as I mentioned. And what is the definition of a paramilitary force? It is a police force or a force that is officered by the Indian Army officers. Now, none of the other central paramilitary forces or central police organizations, as they are called, like CISF, CRPF, BSF, SSB, none of them are officered by the officers on deputation from the Indian Army. That distinguishes the Assam Rifles from rest of these CPMFs, Central Paramilitary Forces, as they are called. The only thing common between the Assam Rifles and the CPMFs are the two facts that the Assam Rifles administratively comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs or the MHA, and like the other police, central police forces, is given the budget or is allocated the budget from the Ministry of Home Affairs and not the Ministry of Defense. Although the Indian Army officers lead those battalions of Assam Rifles, the fact is that the budget comes from the Ministry of Home Affairs. But the operational control of the Assam Rifles in the northeast and elsewhere, wherever it goes, wherever it is deployed sometimes, is under the Indian Army. Now, we have to understand this distinction. But that is not the main thrust of this episode. The main thrust is that Assam Rifles was established not in the name of Assam Rifles but as Cachar Levy in 1835. Way back in 1835 in Assam, the undivided Assam, basically to act as a force to defend the commercial interest of the British, who had established the tea industry or about to establish or was a fledgling tea industry in the 1830s. Tea industry began in India's northeast or in Assam in 1832. And the tea industrialists and tea garden workers came under frequent attacks from bandits, from tribals, from the dacoits in those areas, and they needed a force, essentially a militia. A ragtag militia was raised in 1835 under the name Cachar Levy. And then, of course, it kept on having different forms of identity. In 1862, it became the Frontier Force, controlled by the government or the British government that time. In 1917, in the middle of the Second World War, the Frontier Force was converted to Assam Rifles with just 4 battalions. That force strength continued till 1940 when the Second World War began. And then, of course, it has expanded. So, the Assam Rifles now has expanded to have 46 battalions or nearly 65,000 troops under its command, which is almost equivalent to a corps in the Indian Army. The distinguishing factor as far as the Assam Rifles is concerned, as I said, the officers come from the Indian Army. From various arms of the Indian Army, they get deputed to lead the battalions. The Director General of the Assam Rifles is a 3-star Lieutenant General from the Indian Army, and so are the staff officers in the headquarters. They are also from the Indian Army. But the Jawans and the JCOs come mostly from the Northeast, the 7 or 8 states of the Northeast, 7 sisters and 1 brother, which is Sikkim. as we colloquially know it in the Northeast. They are recruited from amongst the local population, various tribes in the Northeast, and therefore they get mixed in these battalions when the recruitment happens, and they get trained together. They have different languages. There's common lingua franca is their common language is basically broken Assamese, broken Bengali, broken Nagamese, which is again a mixture of Bengali, Assamese, Hindi, English, that kind of thing. So it's got a long history. It's grown roots in the Northeast. And basically, they are the protectors of the Northeast. They are sons of the soil. They also know the area, the topography, they know the social fabric of the Northeast, and therefore Assam Rifles says most of the time, uh, bulk of the force has remained in the Northeast. So it started off, as I said, by being Cachar Levy, and then turned into Assam Rifles in 1917. The first Indian officer to become the head of Assam Rifles was Colonel Siddhiman Rai, who was a colonel, and he was designated as the Inspector General of Police for Assam Rifles in 1948. Then, of course, the Assam Rifles has got deployed at various other theatres like Sri Lanka during the IPKF campaign, the Indian Peacekeeping Force campaign between 1987 and 1990 in Sri Lanka. It has got one battalion on the LAC, the line of actual control, or the Indo-Tibet border in Sikkim. It has also deployed and worked and has carried out operations in Jammu and Kashmir. So it's got a long legacy, a very rich legacy of achievements. But more than anything else, it has a reassuring presence in the Northeast. And I can relate to you one incident which happened with me. Way back in 1992, I happened to travel from Guwahati to a place called Noklak, which is on the Myanmar border, or the Burma border as it used to be called. And there was a refugee crisis. Some people from Myanmar's western provinces had migrated or had fled, had come as refugees into the Noklak subdivision, or the Noklak village, which is on the border with Myanmar in Nagaland. So we traveled for 2 days to get there on a bus from finally from Sang. And once we reached there, me and another colleague was working for Times of India at that time. When we reached there, we of course met those refugees. We met some of the local people, asked them why they have come, what is the crisis on the other side, and all that. And then we went back to the bus station to take the bus back to Sang, or so we thought. But it turned out that the bus wouldn't go for the next 2 days back to Sang. It was a bus that would operate every second day between Noklak and Sang, which will travel for about 2 hours one way. But the bus won't go back. So we then were at a loss where to stay, what to do. So somebody told us, one of the villagers told us in broken Hindi, that there is an Assam Rifles post, why don't you just try your luck there? There's nothing else there. No administrative office, no administrative police station. So we walked across completely at a loss what to do, and just went and requested the company commander, as it is called. It's a small post, and there was a company, of course, deployed further up the border. And we said that we are stranded, we don't know what to do. So they were very welcoming. They hosted us for the next 2 days, next 48 hours. And we learned so much of it from so much about the local history, traditions, culture, and the way the Assam Rifles operates with the locals and for the locals in that 48 hours stay there. So they are everywhere. You name it. Like, there used to be an old saying in the Northeast, Jahan na jaye Belgadi, wahan jaye Marwadi, because traders went first in those areas. But I can say it with confidence that Jahan na jaye Belgadi, wahan jaye Assam Rifles, because there are places like Vijayanagar where are still only air connected. Only an Assam Rifles post continues to fly the Indian flag there. We have done that episode twice, in fact, in the last 3 years on Vijayanagar, what it means to India and why it is important for India and why Assam Rifles is there. I did that in September 2021. The link of that video will be available in the descriptor. And my colleague Amitabh Revi actually did an interview with the current DG of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General PC Nair, in Vijayanagar. Again, the connectivity is only by air. So Assam Rifles is everywhere in the far-flung areas. It has come a long way. It is going to complete 190 years on 24th of March. And we hope to bring you a special feature about the force in our sister channel, the Bharat Shakti YouTube channel. That's the plan. But Assam Rifles is truly the friend of the hill people or the friend of the people in the northeast. It is actually called the Sentinels of the Northeast, was called at one point in time. And there are several uh, incidents in which Assam Rifles has been a historic witness. I'll just mention two. An Assam Rifles company or Assam Rifles force accompanied Major Bob Cutting to Tawang to establish India's sovereignty over Tawang in 1951. It was because of Assam Rifles that Major Bob Cutting, then by then a civilian officer, who actually took this force and established India's control over Tawang, which has the Buddhist monastery, and which now is the major point of dispute between India and China, as all of you are aware. The second was again connected to Tibet when the current Dalai Lama, the old gentleman that you see, who is a revered Buddhist guru, Buddhist revered figure, religious and spiritual figure, when he fled the Potala Palace in Lhasa and traveled through the inhospitable terrain of Tibet to enter India or enter NEFA, then NEFA, Northeast Frontier Agency, he was escorted from the border point of Kinzamane in Arunachal Pradesh, now Arunachal Pradesh, then NEFA, to Tejpur by elements or troops and leaders of 5 Assam Rifles Battalion, which was then guarding the borders. In fact, in the 1962 war, Assam Rifles had different posts right ahead of the Indian Army, right on what is called the McMahon line in the northeast, and it has served the country very well. Several awards have been won. That list is available. You can see that. But the fact is, Assam Rifles is completely inseparable from the Northeast, and that force deserves all the accolades it can get. It has, of course, come under some flack because of political reasons in the recent Manipur situation, disturbed situation in Manipur, where some of the communities have accused them of taking sides with another community. But that is par for course as far as Northeast is concerned. It also has the responsibility of guarding the Indo-Myanmar border right now. And in fact, when the fence comes up, as the government has already declared, then the Assam Rifles, like the BSF in Punjab and Rajasthan and on the Bangladesh border, the Assam Rifles will be responsible for the uh, for guarding the Indo-Myanmar border. Once, even without the fence, it is guarding it. Once the fence comes up, it will have more responsibility. It, of course, tries to prevent drug smuggling, narcotics coming in from east of in India's northeast, that is from the Myanmar Golden Triangle. It catches and captures smugglers, contraband carriers. But the fact is, without Assam Rifles, Northeast will not be the same. In fact, many of the government policies have been first tried out or front-ended by the Assam Rifles in the Northeast. And therefore, I thought I'll give you this brief history or a brief glimpse into Assam Rifles, what it does, what it means for security and protection of the India's Northeast, which is a crucial part of India as far as the security dynamics is concerned. And therefore, it deserves what it gets, the accolades it gets, the budget that it gets, and it is likely to be expanded further according to the plans that the Assam Rifles and the MHA has. So do keep watching whenever you travel in the Northeast for an Assam Rifles post. They'll certainly be welcoming you with a cup of tea and warm smiles and very welcoming nature whenever you go, wherever you go, any remote destination in the Northeast. If you travel there, do look out for an Assam Rifles post. It will always be welcoming. That's all I have this week. Do keep watching StratNewsGlobal and, of course, keep sending your feedback. It's extremely important for us. And our social media handles are visible to you on the screen. Of course, we also bring you reports from the ground. As I said, we have done reports on Assam Rifles earlier, but this is the whole history of Assam Rifles. I thought I'll encapsulate in these 15-20 minutes. I hope you enjoy that, but for the time being, it's goodbye.